the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog, the Genesis Scottish Open research, picks, and preview, and maybe another look at the alternate event that's going on at the ISCO, or the ISCO Championship in Kentucky this week, which has a much lesser field, unlike the Scottish Open, which is the strongest field of the year outside of the Players' Championship for the non-majors, and even including signature events, because this is a full field event, a co-sanctioned event between the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. So a lot of top-end players getting themselves prepped for Portrush in Ireland next week. Go to Scotland, go to Ireland, and boom! Maybe you can win yourself the final major championship of 2020. Bobby Mack is back. He is obviously the defending champion, losing to Rory McIlroy the year before that by a stroke. We've had some great finishes at the Scottish Open. In fact, since the Renaissance Club took over being the host site of the Scottish Open, and even before it was a part of the PGA Tour, a lot of guys would go over and play the week before the Open anyway, when this was solely a DP World Tour event. I don't believe that the winning margin has been any bigger than one stroke in those 6 attempts. It's been a co-sanctioned event for 3 years. Xander won the first time, then Rory, then Bobby Mack. No one higher than 40-1. Jordan Spieth is out of this tournament. He's still suffering from that neck injury that caused him to WD from the Travelers in the first round. Victor Hovland and Corey Connors are both listed in the field, so we're going to assume that they are returning this week from their injuries over in Scotland to get themselves prepped for the Open Championship. A few housekeeping items before we jump into anything. First up, CoolBet.com is the sportsbook sponsor of the Pat Mayo Experience, and they are hosting a poker tournament. They do poker on the site as well, so CoolBet.com/poker will get you directly to that site. The Pat Mayo Experience Open, it's a qualifier to the big CoolBet Open that's happening in Estonia. You can win yourself an entry into that tournament, plus airfare, plus hotels over to Eastern Europe. You just got to be in Canada, outside of Ontario to play. The qualifier is Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Plus, I'm going to be playing in it, and I'm terrible. And there's a bounty on my head. It's only 20 euro in order to join. That's like 30 bucks Canadian. You get the ticket that's, I believe, worth around 750 bucks into the tournament over in Estonia. If you can get through the qualifier, the top 2 from my qualifier pod will go to the finals of the Canadian qualifier, and the winner of that will win the gigantic trip to Estonia. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe I won't. Estonia is very far away. But if I can figure out a way to go, maybe I'll just win and then I'll go. But if I don't, maybe I'll go anyway and go play in the tournament. Sounds like a really cool time. And the CoolBet offices, I believe, are in Estonia. So yeah, they're going to have it all ritzed out for everyone Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. CoolBet.com/poker to get into that qualifier. Shouldn't be that difficult to move on from my pod. It's, winning the actual qualifier in a week's time that will really be the difficult part about it. Custy Awards preview coming out this week with Braun Stetter and Kenny Kim. It's a really fun show. We already have that in the can. Tambo is out this week, so Sia and I will be doing the DraftKings preview and all the final bets, and we'll have that coming out really early on Wednesday morning. It won't be live because obviously, the go time for the Scottish Open for us in North America is going to be super early in the morning. I want to give people as much time as possible to get into that content if they're looking for it. So that should be available to you good people the moment that you wake up on Wednesday morning. Plus, in the comment section, after you like, after you subscribe, and after, you can do this 3 ways. So subscribe, smash a like, give me your winner of the Scottish Open or the ISCO down in the comment section right now. And if you leave that same answer as a part of a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, boom, you get into the draw for the PXG free driver. I'll be giving away that driver on the Monday following the Open Championship. I've used it a few times, not going to lie to you, and it works. I actually have the other version of it now as well. I had the Black Ops PXG driver. I got 2 of them. I'm giving 1 away to one of you good people. Plus, we're going to have a bunch of other fun giveaways for the Open Championship. Thanks for bearing with me the few weeks off that I took from the research show. I heard from so many of you how much you guys like this show. It's a process at the beginning of your week. It is for me too. Getting into everything, it's just I was getting burnt out in the middle of the summer, both from the sun and doing so much content over and over. There's no off weeks in golf, really. And when you go into full-time NFL, directly into the merge season for me, when they're both happening, and then full-time into golf, that eventually you wake up and you just don't want to do it anymore. And I didn't want to start doing shows that I didn't want to do because I feel like the product would have been really, really bad. And I just needed a little bit to recharge. If there's ever some time to take your foot off the pedal a little bit, it's probably for the Rocket Mortgage and the John Deere. I like those tournaments. Obviously, we were still doing shows for those tournaments, but just getting the research done way beforehand, getting the show out. I thought I'd owed it to myself and my family because I've been doing a lot of family stuff over the past month or so. Just recharge the batteries a little bit. We got the Scottish, we got the British, 3M, and the Wyndham. We're in the stretch run for the PGA Tour that I wanted to make sure that I hammered these shows, reinvigorated myself, and here I am. I feel great. So hopefully you guys bared with it. You're back. I always appreciate you sharing the show around, subbing to the newsletter, and I might have a gigantic announcement coming within the next 7 days or so, hopefully before the Open Championship, which I think a lot of you are really going to enjoy because it's going to help your process, be it betting or DFS, a whole lot more than I'm helping you out right now. So look forward to that. But let's dig in to the Renaissance Club in Scotland. It's a par 70, 7,237 yards, fescue green, so the natural greens out there, 7,000 square foot greens, 83 bunkers across the course, and 0 hazards. When you're trying to strategize how to play this course, be long off the tee and be very good with your irons. The path of least resistance is just bomb it wherever, because while there is fescue around, playing out of that fescue isn't all that tough. When Bobby Mack's hitting like hybrids out of it, 230 yards and sticking it on the green to win a tournament. Actually, no, that was the year he came second. Still, he did it. It was an excellent shot. That it can get pretty easy. So missing the fairway isn't the end of the world. The places where you don't want to be is in the bunker. The bunkers here are treacherous, the fairway bunkers. There's an 81% greens and regulation rate from the fairway. That's over the 78% tour average that we normally see from all courses combined. Only 56% from the rough. That's higher than the PGA Tour average of 52%. So you can draw a terrible lie in the fescue or hit into a bush and have to take an unplayable. That sucks. The vast majority of the time, if you miss the fairway, you are going to be fine. So hit it as far as possible. But here's the funny one. The PGA Tour average is 49% green regulation rate from a fairway bunker. At the Renaissance Club, 18%. Do not hit it into the bunkers. It's generally a pitch out sideways, and it's essentially a penalty stroke when you're looking at it. And you think of this as a links course, but it's not really a links course. As you can see in the overview right now, there's only 3 water holes, and the water doesn't even really come into play. This is more of a parkland-style course that just happens to be in Scotland. You're gonna get some wind potentially, and that's what we've seen in the winning scores. We dig into that a little bit later on. Like Xander won here at -7. Aaron Rye won here in 2020 at -11, but like last year, -18, -15, -21. Bernd Wiesberger won here in 2019. Though if the wind doesn't pick up, it's a super easy course. If the wind starts picking up, you're going to see hilarious scores across the board. So be very wary and keep up to date. I'm going to try to find the proper wind tower and put that in the newsletter link so we can make sure that we have everything on the go for that. That is something that we're going to want to really take a hard look at this year to make sure that we're best prepared in order to really try to figure this out. The par 3s, the average distance is 178 yards. These are 5 of the 6 most off-par holes on the course. The par 4s, there's 10 of them, and 3 of the 5 toughest holes on the course are on the front 9 par 4s, 2, 7, and 8. Then you got the par 5s. There are 3 of them on this course. So a 5, 10, 3. You don't see that all that often. We're going to have to take in consideration some longer par 3s and see if guys can stick it from there. Again, this is a very easy off the tee course. You need to be dialed in with your iron play, but putting here is super tough. Despite the really slow greens, it's not going to make that big of a difference. 3-putt avoidance, just because guys aren't used to playing on these slow fescue greens. I know I go up and I make my pilgrimage up to Cabot every single year. They have the fescue greens on both of the courses there, and it takes a little bit of adjustment. They can get burnt out in spots. They don't roll super consistently, and they can be super slow in parts, but there's so many weird undulations on all of those greens because it's the natural property that you're dealing with that you can miss some putts and make yourself look foolish a lot of the time. So guys with a bit of experience on these greens would be the way to go. And just even taking a look back at the winners, Rory, Bobby Mack, and Xander. Xander just won the Open Championship a year ago. Obviously, Rory and Bobby Mack, plenty familiar with link style greens and fescue greens and the weird undulations. And even before that, you had Minwoo, who's a really excellent European player, links player. Aaron Rai, ditto for him. Same with Bernd Wiesberger. So we've seen just a lot of Euros do really well at this tournament, even since it's translated back over to a co-sanctioned event. Taking a look at the scorecard over on Fantasy National at the moment, we can see where everything kind of piles up. We take a look at birdie percentage. Hole 3, 16, and 5, the 3 par 5s, by far the 3 easiest. And then you have number 5, which is a par 4. It's 338 yards. It's pretty easy. It has a birdie percentage of over 32%. Not a ton of eagles being made. You can make them on all of the par 5s if you can go for it. The going for the green percentage at this course is like 60%. So guys are going to take a hack at it, but getting it up and down and actually making those putts, even if you get it on in 2, putting here being so difficult from long range that you end up with like a 9 to 15 footer for birdie if you miss the putt by enough, or even put it off the green, which would just be an absolute disaster at that point. But the other 3 easy par 4s, 5, 13, and 14. To build a birdie streak on this course, there's no real advantage from starting on any of the tees. As you can see, 7, 8, and 9, the 5th, 3rd, and 4th most difficult holes on the course, that you're probably going to find it somewhere here on the back 9. Mainly, you're probably going to birdie 13 and 14. That's the easy par 3. That's 161 yards, number 14. But other than that, you hope to get lucky on either 12, a longer par 3, or on number 15, a longer par 4, which have a 13 and 15% birdie rate, but they're sandwiched around 3 of the 4 easiest holes on the course that you can make hay on those. 17 and 18, super difficult. This is the way that you like to have a course situated, in my mind, honestly. Out of the gate, it's a little bit tough. Then it gets easy. You can get those strokes back if you bleed them away. Then going to the turn, just a disaster. 21%, 25%, 25% bogey rate on 7, 8, and 9. Then it gets a little bit easier. A string of really easy holes. Then you get to 16. You got to make good on 16, that par 5. Then you get to 17 and 18. 17 is a 203-yard par 5, the 6th most difficult hole, 20% bogey or worse rate. Then you get to 18, the toughest hole on the course, 31% bogey rate, 5% bogey or double or worse rate, as opposed to a 6% birdie rate. So just because you're in doesn't mean you've won. Just because you're up by 1 or 2 doesn't mean you've won this tournament heading to the 18th hole, especially if the wind starts picking up, because then it could be a disaster. Guys that have figured out these greens, that's a good way to go in dealing with it, but bombers plus iron players, like the Aaron Rai profile, I think works really well here. The accurate plus great irons, or bombs away good with wedges is the other way that you're doing it, also who dominates on par 5. I actually don't have a model specifically built out for this course, so we're going to do that as a part of this show once we get to that. The greens and regulation percentage, pretty high. More shots from 0 to 75 yards than you see almost anywhere, which is kind of hilarious to think about. It's just, there's a lot of chipping from in close that ends up going on. Other than that, you're beyond 200. It's pretty flat across the board, just guys getting to their spots and moving on. Last year's cut line was -2, was -1 the year before that, and +4 in 2022. That was the wind-laced year. So again, this course plays very differently depending on the conditions. I know most courses do, but as you saw, it's a completely exposed course, so the wind hits even harder. It's like some of those Texas layouts, or even something like Erin Hills, where if the wind picks up, it's totally different. You have to strategize different ways. Guys that can control ball flight do really well here, and I'm just going to spoil it now for you. I haven't done it yet this year, and I actually haven't done it since Nick Taylor won the Canadian Open, and I got devastated when he beat Tommy Fleetwood in the playoff. I'm going to bet Fleetwood this week. He's coming in great form, off a devastating loss, and you know what? Maybe he can get his first ever PGA victory now that we're not in you're not in the continental United States. You can pick up a PGA Tour win in Europe where he's been okay over the years. The green regulation rate overall, just above tour average. Scrambling a little bit lower than your average tour event. Driving accuracy way down. But again, that coincides with what I talked about earlier. Just because you miss the fairway, not a big deal. Unless it's in the bunker. You miss it in the rough, that if the average accuracy is 52% and you're seeing 62% for your tour average, yet green regulation is a little bit higher, that is a sure tail sign that it is easier to play out of the fescue and the rough here than almost anywhere. But you can grab those penalty lies, which suck. But if you just get a little bit lucky and run a little bit hot, or just take one throughout the course of the week, not that big of a deal. The driving distance much higher here than your average tour event because it's grip it, rip it, no water on the course at all to eat up that ball, so you're good there. Green regulation proximity a little bit longer, probably because of the 7,000-yard greens. We come back, we're going to take a look at the previous champion, some strokes gain numbers, and what you need to be looking for, plus the model. Feeling stuck in your daily wellness routine? When you're not alone. Our friends at Cornbread Hemp, they heard you. Their organic CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether it's stress and poor sleep or just needing a moment to unwind. Personally, I started taking them before a round of golf because I've been dealing with this tennis elbow issue. It's starting to go away, but it tightens up on me throughout the course of the round. So just when I pop a Cornbread Hemp CBD gummy, all of a sudden loosen right up, playing a lot better. Highly recommended if your muscles seize up or get tight during a round of golf. CBD might be just what you need to level up your daily routine. Cornbread Hemp uses only the best parts of hemp plant, the flower, for purest and the most potent CBD. No fillers, no junk, just full spectrum goodness. Right now, they're offering 30% off your first order. So go to cornbreadhemp.com/PatMayo and use code PatMayo at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PatMayo with code PatMayo to get 30% off your first order. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Part of my wellness routine this year, at least in the summer, has been focus more on family and focus more on Pat Mayo. So, been doing fewer shows, upping the exercise, eating better, and a lot of people don't have the privilege and luxury that I do to be able to take time off like that, especially during the summer when stuff can start to stress you out. If you have kids, there is no summer for you. It's just daily, nonstop grinding every single day. Couple that with workplace stress, and it's a bit difficult. Workplace stress right now is one of the top causes of declining mental health, with 61% of the global workforce experiencing a higher than normal amount of stress. So maybe BetterHelp is exactly what you need to do. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for those who've experienced major trauma. If you feel anything going on with you, you need to go to betterhelp.com/PatMayo right now. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. My listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/PatMayo. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PatMayo. Even though the 4th of July is in the rearview mirror, there's still a massive opportunity to get some Omaha steaks, get outside, have a cookout, and I'm going to make that easy for you, because if you go to omahasteaks.com right now, you can get 50% off site-wide, plus my listeners are going to get an extra $45 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. There's no better thing to do in the summer. You have the family over, you have the friends over, you're having some drinks, the kids are playing in the yard, you're spraying a hose at them like that creepy guy in Billy Madison, and you have luscious steaks on the grill. And it doesn't even need to be steaks. It could be anything that you want, because Omaha Steaks has it done for you. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, and delectable desserts. So get fired up this year, this summer. with Omaha Steaks. And visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and get an extra $45 off by using promo code MAYO at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $45 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. See site for details. To piggyback on what I just talked about, the driving in greens and regulation, it might be actually a really nice opportunity on Underdog this week to play some higher on greens and regulation and lower on driving accuracy for a lot of players. Just keep that in mind if that's something that you want to look at. Code Mayo will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 and a free pick in the pick'em game. Bobby Mack has been the best player here. We only have the data, and we didn't have strokes gained from 2022, only the past 2 years. But overall total, what you're looking at is from the past 3 years since this became a co-sanctioned event. And just to think about what happened the past 2 years at this course, we had Robert McIntyre, Adam Scott, Romain Langesque, who apparently didn't get himself into the Open a year ago. I don't quite understand that. Maybe I just looked it up the wrong way. Let's see. The Open Championship. Yeah, I mean, he played this last year, and that was like the last time that we've kind of seen him in PGA Tour events. What the hell happened to him? Langesque. He's currently world number 137, so I would guess that he would have ended up. I don't know how he wouldn't have got himself in the Alfred Dunhill Links, BGA W Championship. He was in the Open. Oh, he had to withdraw from the Open. That's why he's not in. But he was T3 here a year ago. But Bobby Mack was T50 at the Open last year after winning the Scottish Open. Adam Scott was second. He was T10 at the Open. We had a WD from Romain Langesque or Langesque from France. Sung Jae was fourth here. He was T7 at the Open. Rory and Ludwig both missed the cut a year ago. Morikawa was T16. Theegala also missed the cut. Noren was T13, and Rai was T7. That has your top 10 the year before that. And I don't know how that necessarily translates to Portrush, honestly, because it seemed like Bombers did a pretty good job last time, but then you had Lowry and Fleetwood up there as well, guys that played well in conditions, soggier conditions. Rory won. He was T6 at the Open the following week. McIntyre was second. He was T71. Lingmerth, who was not in the tournament this time around, was third that year. He was T68, T23 for Scheffler and Benny Ann and Nikolai Højgaard were all at the Open the following year. Hatton was T20. Fleetwood and Tom Kim were T10 and T2 when Brian Harmon ended up hoisting the Claret Jug. Just in case you're doing some additional advanced prep for the Open Championship, trust me, I'm going to have plenty of Open Championship preview. We're going back to the full slate. It's a final major. We're going to be blowing it out. So again, if you want to get in the draw for that PXG driver, just leave me your winner of this tournament down in the comment section right now. The best players over the past 3 years in terms of strokes gained total. You have Bobby Mack, who has a first, second, and a missed cut. Tom Kim, who's never finished outside the top 15 each of the past 3 years. Rory's played it twice, a fourth and a first. Langesque was third in T25. Fleetwood T4, T6, and T31. I believe he had some good run here when it was just a Euro Tour event as well. Wyndham Clark has 3 consecutive top 25 finishes. Adam Scott was second a year ago, was cut the year before that. Corey Connors back-to-back top 20s. Other than that, we're looking at, it feels like Matt Fitzpatrick is going to be a very, I don't know if I want to say he's going to be a very good bet, but he's going to be a very popular bet, myself included, that depending on the number. And we might get a good number because this field is so strong at the moment, but guys, iron game is starting to come alive. It's like Frampton out here. 5.5 at the Rocket Mortgage gained a bunch off the tee. 1.7 at the Travelers. 5.8 at the PGA Championship. Was shit at the U.S. Open, but that happens from time to time. Kept him afloat with 11 strokes gained on the green. That's always fun. But now we're going to get him back at the Scottish. We'll see how he's done strokes gained wise, at least at the Scottish. Now, we didn't have it from the past, from 2002 or 2023. We had it last year, gained a bunch on the greens. That's what I want to be seeing right now, because his game was in the tank at this point last year as well. It seems like he's coming out of it. 2 top 10s, 3 top 20s over his past 5 starts, gaining off the tee almost every single week. The distance is back up. He's starting to get his irons back up if he can just harness his putting stroke, because his around the green has been excellent. This is a very difficult chipping course. Shouldn't be as big of a problem for a native Brit who is pretty familiar with this sort of turf layout where you can keep the ball on the ground, you can put it up in the air, play many different styles, whatever treats you the best, whatever you feel you're the best at, that's what you can do this week. And where he putted so well last time here and has had some good results already, if he can flip that putter around, he's a legit chance to win this tournament. And you can see the past 5, he's starting to trend back upwards of what we want from Matthew Fitzpatrick. So that's encouraging to see. Højgaard's up here. It might be a good look for Minwoo as well. Granted, if Minwoo is playing. No, Minwoo, of course, is not playing in this tournament, a tournament that he has won in the past, decided to skip on out on this week. There's most of the top 25 in the world in the field, though. I'm just going to use the Fantasy National app here, where it lists by OWGR. Oh, you didn't GR? Number 6 and number 7 in the world are not playing because one of those is Bryson, so he's not in. Oh, the fun thing about this tournament, Laurie Cantor and Shakara are both playing, which is kind of crazy because they're both live guys. Let's see. Cantor, hardly know her. Yeah, Laurie Cantor missed the cut here last year. He's still number 1 on the order of merit, whatever the PGA qualification is for next year. He left LIV. He went back to DP World Tour full time, and he and Shakara both look like they're going to earn their PGA Tour cards coming up. Who else did well last year? Morikawa was a T4. Obviously, he's won an Open Championship in the past. Who else in their first spot? Alejandro Del Rey Montecero coming off that good result in Canada a few weeks back. Nicholas Norgard Muller, also very good as well. Montecero very good in the wind, by the way, in case you were wondering. We're going to get to see Marco. I think Marco Penge is playing in this tournament. Let's see. Marco. Yeah, there we go. Marco Penge hasn't played in this tournament before, but continues to impress on the DP World Tour. Dude absolutely bombs it off the tee. Was very good, I believe, at the U.S. Open, where he ended up making the cut. Maybe it was the PGA Championship. Now I can't remember which one he got into and which one he did. It was the PGA Championship. And he played really well. Dude struggles putting, but that's when you're a bomber who's actually good at chipping and an approach. Like, this is like the Luke List blueprint for playing well. Luke List actually had some good run at this tournament as well. So maybe being from England, maybe he can figure out some of these greens a little bit more. But that's where I'm looking at for just who has won this tournament in the past. So let's try to build out a model. We need a brand new model. Let's call it the Scottish and see what we got on the go here. Trying to figure out what we want to do. Scottish Open. Do we want to? I mean, you can build a mixed condition model out of this as well, and we can try to take a look at that. But we need strokes gained approach. That's going to be, obviously always key. We're going to have to add that in. I'm going to go strokes gained. Should I throw in? I'm going to throw in distance. Or should I throw in total driving? Because I do think that fairways do mean something here in combination with being a great iron player. So we're going to throw in fairways. I don't know if I'm going to give it any weighting, but I want to see those numbers next to what I see at approach. And maybe we'll take a look at how that works for courses that are a little bit more difficult to hit fairways, because this is one of the bigger ones. And then we'll take a look at driving distance. We're going to throw that in, but we're going to weight that. Other things that we can throw in that I've been looking at, opportunities gained, par threes, the long par threes. We saw, I think, 4 of those out of the 5 are over 200 yards, or at least very close to 200 yards. We'll throw that in. And then we'll chuck in opportunities gained. That seems to be pretty good for the moment. I mean, I guess strokes gained off the tee. I don't want to throw in too many of the exact same type of numbers. So if you put in off the tee, but we already have distance and fairways, are we getting redundant at that point? I don't want to see that. Let's just chuck in par 4s gained overall, and maybe we can ratchet it up to difficult par 4s and see how that ends up going for us. So let's just try to factor this out. I will throw in fairways very minimally, and then we'll put distance just behind approach. And we'll throw in the par 3s up to 18%, opportunities gained, and par 4s. Let's go with eagle rate as well. I find that's actually better than par 5 scoring because it kind of tells you who's going for the green and who is not going for the green. I'd like to almost think about ball speed numbers as well, just seeing Rory and Minwoo as former champions of this course, that maybe that's an angle that you can take as well. But maybe it's just, they played really well that week. I know Minwoo stormed the leaderboard the year he ended up winning, but then I start thinking of Wiesberger and Aaron Rai. Like, they're not going to be up there. So maybe it's just depending on what you want to look at, that some years it's going to be that way because the guy with the high ball speed ended up playing incredibly well. And other years it's more of your grinder types who hit a bunch of fairways, don't get themselves into a bunch of trouble. Where's Eagles gained? Eagles. We'll throw that in there at a very minimal percentage as well. So we got 29% for approach, 19% for distance, 12% for the par 3, opportunities gained, and par 4s, 9% for Eagles. We're going to drop that down a little bit. Go 6% for Eagles, 7% for fairways gained. See what that ends up giving us. This week, over the past 12 rounds coming in, Viktor Hovland appears to be number 1 in the categories. That is, I didn't realize Hovland was playing so great. Maybe it's all stemming from his fantastic. You know what? I'm going to go back and amend this before we get into it too much. I need to throw putting in here. Even though putting is a bit up in the air, guys only make around 52% of their putts from 5 to 10 feet. And maybe it's different because this is on a different putting surface. Guys are going to have to get used to it, but we're going to throw in 5 to 10 foot putting as well. And we'll put that at 5%. Just to see anything, Hovland's probably still going to be number 1, and he is coming in. It gives us Hovland, Potgieter, Morikawa, Scheffler, Rasmus, Niergaard, Peterson. I like Niergaard Peterson. He's good. Ludwig, Burns, All, Kevin Roy, Sexy Roy, who, as I'm recording this, is leading the John Deere Classic. I hope he doesn't win. I hope Davis Thompson or Griot or Lee Hodges end up storming the court and end up winning, but that's me. Hall, Roy, Goddard, Nick Taylor, Ryan Fox, Ricky Castillo, Adam Scott, Jake Knapp, Victor Perez. Now, part of this is unfair because a lot of the very top-end players have only been playing in elevated events, and they have only been playing against the very best players in the world, whereas Kevin Roy and Chris Goddard have just been beaten up on a lot of these jabroni events. So let's put this back into the past 36 rounds. All right, the mystery is now over. Number 1 in the model over the past 36 rounds, Scottie Scheffler, as he should be. Best player in the world, should be up there. No Rory to be found in any of this, which is kind of hilarious. Where's Rory? Rory's 22nd in the model. Okay. Because top 10 in distance, top 10 in par 4s. Although in the short term, I bet you he's not looking as good. Let's see what his results have been. I guess he was 6th at the Travelers. I don't even remember that. Oh, yeah. Now I do. He made that shot from up in the crowd. That was a really nice shot. 6th, T19, miscut, 47th, 7th, then he had won the Masters. The putter has been good. The approach play finally did get back on track at the Travelers, but that has been a source of problems for him. Not as bad as Sungjae, the nut low. I was trying to tell Tambo that his Sungjae addiction, maybe it ends up coming through at a course where you can chip and putt around a little bit more here, and is good in really windy conditions, difficult conditions. So the worse it gets, the better it is for him. But take a look at this approach. He hasn't gained on approach since the Cognizant. And then before that, it was the Farmers. Now, he does have the T5 at the Masters. What you will notice is that he chips in like 8 times a week, apparently. So if he can do that here, maybe he'll end up being fine. But he has been awful over the past 3 months or so. So that's really worth looking into. There was Hovland from earlier as well. Again, I'm probably going to end up going with Fleetwood, 3rd at the U.S. Open, that around the green. It's crazy to think. By far his best around the green. Oh, yeah, by almost 4 strokes, the U.S. Open was his best around the green. Funny to look at, though, that Vic's best around the green performances, primarily at majors. U.S. Open, PGA Championship, U.S. Open, Masters, U.S. Open, PGA Championship, the Masters. When you take a look at where he's awful, it's like the Shriners, the Players, the Memorial, and then you do have the Masters also on there as well. But for a guy who struggles so much around the green, the more difficult it is for guys to use precision, and you just kind of have to hack it out. That is where Viktor Hovland is a Viking. Who else do we have up here? Who's good, who's bad? Where's old Fleetwood? Fleetwood should be doing a little bit better, right? Fleetwood is 27th. The driving distance really gets him, but he does excel in fairways gained. But his results, although it's the devastating, crippling losses that we just really remember from Tommy Fleetwood. Like the overall, he's the opposite of Sungjae. He's lost on approach once this year. The driving can be spotty, but being accurate here can go a long way. The chipping is primarily very good, and the putting has been excellent. Now, 2nd, miscut, 16th, 4th, 41st, 4th, 7th. Like he's doing really well. He just can't cross the finish line. And look, if he's 20-1, I'm not going to bet Tommy Fleetwood. But if he comes in at like 33, 35, then it's a bit of a different story. How come Lowry must have a vendetta against Scotland. Not going to Scotland, I guess. He is the defending champion golfer of the year at Royal Portrush. Maybe he has some more obligations in Ireland this week, and that's how he's choosing to go prep. But in those past 36, Scheffler, Hovland, Straka, Morikawa, Bud Cauley, Goddard, Mitchell, Clanton, Spawn, and Corey Connors are the top 10. Again, Connors coming off of an injury, has not played since WDing after the third round of the U.S. Open. Wacky, Vala, Mackey broke some hearts this week at the John Deere Classic. Pot Gita, Olesen, Nikolai Højgaard. I always see Olesen pop in these stats. I have no idea what he's actually doing. It feels like he's never in contention. And I have no idea why I think that. Well, let's see. Yeah, the results are never there. I mean, the putting is off the charts good, but I don't get what it is. He makes cuts. He was fifth at Valero. That was in April, the first week of April. He's never really been that good at the Scottish. Makes the cut, but has never finished inside the top 25 in the 3 co-sanctioned years. So that's really surprising. What about Tommy? Yeah, Tommy has 2 top 6s in a T34, lost 3 strokes putting here a year ago. You turn that around, then all of a sudden that number looks a whole lot better. Siwoo, maybe Siwoo's the play? You never know with Siwoo. The numbers are really good, and he still needs to qualify for the Open, I believe, so this might be his final chance. Playing pretty well at the John Deere right now. Played in the Scottish last year. Tee to green was excellent, but that was it. He would be another deadly with a wedge, accuracy type player. Can he get it going on the greens is what you'd be looking for. Woodland, Ariel, Daniel Berger. Burns seems like he's close, right? I don't know what he did at the Travelers. I don't really remember. He was all right at the Travelers, but that's a pretty good run right now. 5 consecutive top 20 finishes, and he's been okay. At least he's played the Scottish twice. The first time around, made the cut, didn't do all that much, was T20 2 years ago. Maybe there's like a Texas connection here. I guess he's a Louisiana guy, but maybe some bump and runs from around the green. He's big off the tee, that we've seen. Not great with the old fairways, but good at the long par, good on par 4s, and he is one of the better putters out there. If he can harness that this week, that's the route that you could be looking for. Kevin Yu, Rory, Neergaard, Peterson drop down big in the rankings as we get through it. Really bad at putting. I wonder how, I don't even recall if he's played in the Scottish before. Maybe we can try to take a look. Man, that tee to green is so nice. So nice. Look at that tee to green. Dude never putts, but it happens. Hasn't played in the Scottish, but at Rasmussen Neergaard Peterson. We'll take a look at his OWGR as well. He's currently 87th in the world. This guy just goes and lights it up with birdies when the time comes. It's funny. He had the USPGA, the PGA Championship miscut, the Austrian Alpine Open miscut, KLM Open miscut, T12 at the US Open. So he just kind of spikes out of nowhere. Was second in Puerto Rico, second in Qatar. How did we look last year? Do we have the Alfred Dunhill? He was T4. That's all in Scotland, in case you were wondering. He won the Big Green Egg German Challenge on the HPT Tour. No idea what that is, but that's okay. Man, he really did kind of pop up out of nowhere, didn't he? He won on the Challenge Tour, the HPT Tour. Alfred Dunhill Links again was T22 2 years ago. Dude is a legit up-and-comer. So I wouldn't be crazy to see him kind of go out and ball out in this tournament. We see how good his tee to green is. And if he's placed well in events in Scotland in the past, albeit at the 3-course rotation at the Alfred Dunhill Links, that is a positive sign in my mind, considering he's one of the worst putters in the field. At least you can think he can maybe get it done in that regard. More accurate than Long, at least from what we've seen from his PGA Tour experience. I can't really speak to a bunch of his DP. Maybe I'll get Tom and Sky on the line this week to break down some of the European players for the Open Championship. I believe that Neergaard Peterson, it seems like he should have qualified. Victor Perez has actually had some good results here. His approach game is great. He hits a ton of fairways. He should be good again. We'll put him on the list. He's right around Fleetwood. You see with Vic, Vic can't putt, so that always goes awry from time to time. But at the Scottish, he was T10. He's gotten better every year. It's been here at the Open Championship. Let's see, he plays well at Opens, whether it be the U.S. Open, Canadian Open, or Houston Open. Missed the cut at the Open a year ago, 41st at the Open the year before that, 31st. So it's been a bit of a crapshoot for him, but the approach play just continues to be really good. He broke my heart at the U.S. Open because I had him to miss the cut, and I bet no hole-in-one. Guess who made the cut and had the only hole-in-one of the week? Big Dick Vic Perez. That's who. Other than that, and now we're down to like the Novaks, the Lee Hodges. Jordan Smith has been a very good links player, but again, this isn't really a super linksy course, and I have no idea how Jordan Smith has been playing overseas. We can try to get a better sense of some of the other players in the field. We saw Langesk hasn't really been doing much. Jordan Smith, the last time he played was the U.S. Open, made the cut in terms of playing on the PGA Tour. This is where the official world golf ranking site's going to come in handy this week as we go back and start taking a look at other players who could be on the list. Not bad, actually. The only cut he missed was at the Austrian Alpine Open. He made it at the U.S. Open, had 3 consecutive top 10s before that. Let's go take a look at what he may have done around here last year. Hero India. Okay, the Omega Masters, the Irish Open, played well. He was T41 at the Open Championship a year ago. Yeah, it's not really giving us much here, is it? Let's see, from 2023. Let's see how he did then. Any better? Hey, he's playing a little bit better. Good in Qatar. Qatar, that's an event. Was it Qatar or Oman that Kitayama won when he was out there? Never mind me. Now I'm just trying to think back in time. Was T12 at the Scottish Open that year, and he more than likely played it all those years back when it was a DP World Tour event as well. So we'll take a look at 2021 and take a look at the Scottish. That was when the Aberdeen Scottish Open missed the cut back then. We can take a look at a few of these leaderboards. I don't see the harm in that. That's when Minwoo won in the playoff over Dietrich and Fitzpatrick. I knew Fitzpatrick had a high finish at this course. Poulter, Palmer, Lucas Herbert. Basically, if you went to live, you probably did pretty well in some of these events. Justin Thomas is a really interesting one. That's the guy who is not playing this week. He was first round leader here. No, he is playing this week. Okay, good. Thomas was first round leader here last year, I want to say, or the year before, and it was his best round by 9 strokes. He should be really good at the Scottish Open. It does everything. He doesn't need to be super accurate. He's great with his wedges. He's great around the green, but never finished better as the PGA Tour event than 60th, but we do see that he snuck into the top 10 back in 2021. Jack Sonor was up there that week. There's Xander, had the top 10 before his win. Scotty was T12. These were still excellent events. They were just DP World Tour sanctioned events. Hatton, there's Burns was T18, Bobby Mack, Matthew Jordan, Bernd Wiesberger. I don't know if Wiesberger's off of live as well, back playing on the DP World Tour. I don't know if that's going to end up affecting him at all. I don't believe he's in the field. Let's see. Feel the Burned. Oh, he is in the field this week. Good for him. So he's a former champion. A guy who's been playing well. No clue. Maybe that's a guy to look into as a former champion, to feel the burn. How has he been playing on the DP World Tour? Guess not great, because he got kicked off a live for being crappy. Yeah, he had a T11 at the Hainan Classic. That's about his best finish of the year. Been a rough go for old Bernd Wiesberger, but that's what we're doing for the Scottish Open this time around. I try to guess the odds, honestly, but it's going to be Scotty, it's going to be Rory, and then you're going to have guys that are going to be overinflated, and then Xander will probably be third on the list, Thomas and Morikawa. So those are going to be your top 5 in terms of odds, whether Scotty's 3-1 or 4-1. He's never won this tournament, so maybe they give him a little bit of leeway on the odds book. And Rory's been so good at this tournament with a win win and a fourth each of the past 2 years that maybe he does get the home field being in Europe advantage for him. So that might get baked into a few guys this week. I'm hoping that doesn't happen with with Fleetwood or Fitzpatrick, that they get artificially bumped up because they're European and this is happening in Scotland. But if you can catch Tommy at a 35-1 or better, Fitz at a 45-1 or better, those are numbers I'm going to be on, plus Neergaard Peterson and maybe Sam Burns as well, guys to look at. Of note, each of the past 3 years that this has become the co-sanctioned event. Bobby Mack was the biggest long shot winner. He was 40-1 a year ago. Xander, I believe, was 16-1, and Rory was 4-1 or 5-1 the year he ended up winning. So towards not necessarily the very top every year, but near the top of the board, has done very well at this tournament since the field strength has got a lot stronger. So keep that in mind when you're making your bets this week, that you don't need to sprinkle some. Like, I sprinkled a bunch down the board, and it was a good thing, because this tournament, the John Deere Classic, has been an absolute crapshoot, depending on where people have come from. And so many guys missed the cut. I think it was a 1.3%, 6 of 6 percentage on DraftKings this week. That ain't good. Unless you had a 6 of 6, then it's absolutely positive. I myself did not have any 6 of 6s, which I'm sure is in conjunction with the rest of you. But take a look at the board and make sure you take a look at the weather, at least what the projected weather is going to be, or keep that in the back of your mind. Do you have guys with dual skill sets? Guys that can mash and play well during benign conditions, but guys that can excel over comparatively to the rest of the field if the wind does start to pick up? Do you have guys with all the different shots? Bobby Mack, most of the Europeans, Scotty. I don't even know about the other Americans that would have like all the shots. JT has all the shots. Spieth has all the shots, but he's not playing. But those would be the sort of players that I would be starting to gravitate around. But big bomber or accuracy and irons, those are the two ways that you want to go. Bombers and wedges and putting, and obviously putting the other way around too. And then you can historically go back and take a look at who some of the best putters at this course and overseas have been. Again, if Neergaard Peterson can play so well in Scotland at other courses, presumably he can putt well enough at this one not to sink himself completely from the onset. But let's jump back over to Fantasy National for a moment, because I do want to take a look at the other event, the ISCO, which is happening this week in Kentucky. This is the Matt Wiley Open. I feel like he's all over this one. So let's just take a look at normal strokes gained. When I take a look at the field overall, what do we got on the go here? Oh, Thomas Aiken. Sweet. Strokes gained total coming in. Kevin Roy. Kevin Roy is listed in both events. I believe he is an alt in the Genesis or the Scottish Open field. So right now what we're looking for, the best players per official world golf rankings. Now, if someone wins the John Deere Classic, like Cam Champ is up there, Kevin Roy is up there, Griot is up there. Fuck, I should have just sorted by strokes gained total for alt events to see who would be at the top of the John Deere Classic. It's all these guys. The top three, I believe, are inside the top. As I'm speaking right now, I believe each of the top, Roy, Champ, and Griot are like 1, 2, and 2 on the leaderboard going into it. Really hope it's Griot who ends up as the winner here, because I got the money on him. Thorbjornsen, Bo Hostler, Hubbard, Hadwin, Lauer, S.H. Kim, Rico Hoey, Griot. Some of these guys are listed in both events, just same as Kevin Roy, Hayden Springer, Mac Meisner. Who are some of the guys from the bottom? Because this is a co-sanctioned event as well. So there are guys from the DP World Tour. Jens Denthrop is coming over. Most of the good ones are in the Scottish field. Hey, Gavin Green is playing. Oh, JB Holmes is in this field? A guy named Daniel Iceman? No, that can't be a real name. Who the hell is this guy? Danny Iceman. Oh, yeah, that's a real guy. He has 2 rounds to look at. This is like a legit creative player. Who is this guy? Oh, he played in last year's ISCO. Okay. Daniel Iceman. He must be a local Kentucky guy. His best ranking in there, his current ranking is 4600th in the world. His one event ever is the ISCO, which he missed the cut at last year. What a name. That name is incredible. Good for him. See, Alexander Knapp is playing. Ben Roz's favorite, Maximilian Kiefer, is playing. Jackson Koiven is in this field. Andrea Pavon is coming over. Gordon Sargent again. Actually did make the cut at the John Deere Classic, so that's interesting. Tom Valiant is playing in this. A guy who played really well in South Africa earlier in the season. Patch Adams, Robin Williams is in this field. I don't believe he has any starts. Yeah, he has nothing on the go for the American tours. But let's see, Robin Williams. I just know that he was playing really well earlier in the season on the DP World Tour when we were in South Africa. I believe he lost in a playoff in one of those events. Has been kind of crap lately. He was T7 over in Turkey. He was T14 at the Joburg Open. Maybe I've completely misremembered that Robin Williams. No, he did win. He won something on the African tour. Maybe it was just Sky was betting him, so I was tailing along and thinking he was up there after like 3 rounds. I really thought he lost in a playoff somewhere. Maybe he ended up winning in that playoff. Oh, no, it was the Alfred Dunhill Links last year. Interesting that he didn't get himself into the Scottish Open. Anyway, these are probably guys that don't need to be on your radar. If we just take a look short term, shrink this down to the past 12 rounds, I don't even know who's going to be the favorite in this field. I'm guessing it's Thorbjornsen. But other than that, unless Roy Fisk, Griot, maybe Seamus Power. Let's take a look at an average strokes gained total. Champ, Sharma is in the field. Jackson Suber, Kevin Roy, Maximilian Kiefer. How has Kiefer been doing? Let's see here. Let's highlight his name. Go back over, see how he's been doing on Euro. Feel like Raza would have been tweeting about him more if he had been doing anything of note. They are playing in Germany this week. He was T16 at the Italian Open. That ain't nothing. I mean, that actually is it. That, and he was at the Ras Al Ghul Championship after the end of the Middle Eastern swing. So T16 is his best finish on the DP World Tour this year. Thorbjornsen, Whaley, Griot, Tom Valiant is up there. I thought Valiant was going to be really, really good. And maybe he has been good, and I just haven't noticed. But it was that other French dude who ended up winning a week ago. The old French dude beat the young French dude. And now we have Tom Valiant. Was supposed to be great. Let's see. World number 387. How old is Tom Valiant? I feel like he's super young. Yeah, age 23. How has he been doing? Bad. Very poorly. I guess if you were any good, then and he was T7 at the Alfred Dunhill Links. The Alfred Dunhill Links seemed like a real crapshoot last year, seeing all the people who were up there. Christoph Ventura. Oh, Kinholt is playing. He actually had his PGA Tour card a year ago and lost it. Went back to Europe. Nick Hardy. Wonder who's been good at this tournament. I have no idea. I just so do not pay attention to this tournament unless there's someone I really want to bet. Who won it last year? Whoever won it last year is not playing in this tournament. Let's see. The ISCO. Was last year the one was a three-way? Maybe it was. Did I have three guys in the playoff of this last year? Was this the Hoey, Pierce, and Cootie? Now I got to try to figure this out. T2, yeah, it was the Hoey, Neesmith, Zach Blair. I had the other two guys. I had Hoey, I had Pierce, and Cootie. I guess I didn't have the guy who won, though. Who ended up winning this? Oh, Harry Hall ended up winning. That's right. And look at him now. He's in elevated events and everything. Yeah, Harry Hall won a year ago. Vince Norman, Trey Mullenix, Seamus Power, the Herminator. So you have Harry Hall. I don't believe that Harry Hall is like a real big hitter off the tee, but Norman is, and so is Trey Mullenix. Seamus Power is not, but playoff, one-stroke, playoff, one-stroke. At least it's going to be one-stroke playoff. Not since Scott Piercy won this in 2015. Has this actually been a blowout event? This is coming down to the wire. Seems rigged every single year. Man, maybe Rico Hoey's the way that we need to look at this week. And he is in the field, as we've seen. So last year was just a lot of guys who had never played in it before. Has it been the same course over and over? Who knows with the ISCO. Pavon did play in it last year. Who overall has the most strokes gained? Probably guys that have played in it the most. Hubbard. Okay, so Hubbard's third, 20th. Hubbard had been playing some pretty good golf. Don't believe he did much of anything at the John Deere. I don't know if he got himself into the Scottish because of that, but let's see. How did Hubbard finish here? No, Hubbard did make the cut at the John Deere. He's currently inside the top 30, T29 as I'm talking about it right now. So maybe he's the look right now. A third and a 20th so far and starting to play a little bit better golf. Trevor Cohn is interesting. Obviously, Cohn had the nice run at the U.S. Open. A few weeks back, was T3 here 2 years ago. How's Cohn been doing? He had the run, and then it all. I kind of forget where some of these guys. Once guys end up at the top of the leaderboard, then you don't see them for a bit. You think that they had a good run, but he did make two cuts in a row at the Canadian and U.S. Open. Decent turn for him so far in his career at the ISCO. Dirt McGirt, Svensson. Svensson's just lingering around. Cool Bet sponsored. Adam Svensson. Partner, just like Pat Mayo. There we go. You can hit the description as well. Don't forget to play in that poker tournament. It'd be pretty cool if people started playing. Tell your friends, if they don't care about betting, they care about poker. It could be a free trip to Europe and getting staked in a tournament with over 250,000 euro in it. Coolbet.com/poker. Or if you're American and have Canadian friends who like poker, tell them about it in case they don't watch the show. Other than that, there's not really much going on here. Just ride the hot form seems to be where we're at. I assume that's what we did with Rico last year. Let's take a look at some of the guys who finished inside. That's probably the easiest way to take a look at it. Oh, yeah, there we are. Pierce and Cootie. I believe that Cootie and Hoey both had chances to win on the final hole. I feel like Hoey went over. I thought he was in the water, but he wasn't. I remember actually watching a bunch of this now that I'm refreshing my memory about it. But Hoey had just been playing good golf coming in. 31st, 12th, 1st. Or is this Harry Hall? No, this was Harry Hall. Coming in, gain a bunch on approach, and that's what we kind of are seeing out of him right now. Doesn't gain a bunch off the tee, but good enough. But the approach play had been pretty solid for a while. Let's see, Pierce and Cootie. I believe he was 100-1 at this tournament last year, too. Yeah, and because he gained like 11 strokes between chipping and putting, because that's kind of what he'd been up to. Big off the tee, big on putting. and that's why I ended up on him and that in the very, very deep odds. Let's see, Trevor Cohn. Rico Hoey, what was he doing at this point last year? Where's your second place finish, pal? Third at the Rocket Mortgage, 26th. Yeah, we saw a big uptick. He finally turned his putter around. The approach play came back. He'd constantly been driving it well and just had a very, very good week. He dummied the turn. It was his to win last year, and he couldn't hit a fucking wedge shot to save his life. Just when you have so many guys who come in T2, who's this, Neesmith? Neesmith came out of nowhere. I believe, who was on him last year? The Ship It Nation guy, Galuk. Who does all the showdown stuff. I believe he was on. Who does the course fit rankings? No, who does the course fit ranking? No, I'm getting everyone confused. The guy that does the course fit rankings over at Ship It was all over Matthew Neesmith last year, I remember, and he was like very low owned. He really hadn't been doing much. It was a huge week for him. It was by far his best tournament of the year. Had been losing a bunch of strokes and missing cuts coming in. I don't know what it was about him that week. And I assume if we have Zach Blair in here, he putted the lights out. He didn't putt. He lost. He was great tee to green. Wow. But he just kind of popped out of nowhere. So it was a huge smorgasbord of random dudes. Bet the guys that you like. It does seem like distance off the tee can go a long way as long as they can back that up. But when Thorbjornsen's going to open as like a 16-1 favorite in this tournament, it's probably not where you want to be. Hubbard would most likely be my preference because Roy is going to end up being 20-1. Fisk will be 40-1. All the guys with the great tee to green numbers that maybe you can get like marginal tee to green, but also good putting and see how that ends up working out. And we can try to create a model as the week goes along. I didn't plan to talk too much on the ISCO Championship, but here we are. Bombs away and make some putts. How about that? Glad to be back doing the research. Full slate of Scottish Open. Got some football mixed in. The Custy Awards preview, I believe, are coming out Tuesday morning. Again, a very fun show. And then we're into the Open Championship. We're into fantasy football season. Hopefully I can share my big news with all of you coming within the next week. All right? Smash a like. Give me your winner in the comment section. Use code Mayo at Underdog. And I will see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!